I'm not sure what made me by the desk. It was late October, I was desperate, and the furniture store had a sale I couldn't resist. The clerk said it was solid oak, sturdy, post for days, and it was. Beautifully built, wide rectangular surface, 3 drawers on each side, deep enough to hide a body. I brought it home by pickup, wrestled it up the stairs, and placed it in my study with the drawer knobs perfectly aligned with the window. It sat there, gleaming in the last of autumn light, a promise of productivity and permanence. I locked that middle drawer the first night, keys turning metals with a little click. I had no reason, no thoughts about what I'd put inside, but I locked it anyway. A private drawer, a secret, a line between me and the outer world. I was proud of that desk. Day 2, I stopped at the office to pick up coffee and came home to see the drawer slightly ajar, less than a quarter inch, enough for blackness to peek out. I didn't want it open. I was sure I'd locked it. But maybe it didn't turn the key all the way. I shook the desk, heard no rattles. Nothing loose. I closed it, relocked it. Full turn. Hard click. No give. Next morning, same thing. Just a crack of darkness. The key was gone from the keyhole. I pinned it down, key gone, drawer open. Panic rose. I searched everywhere. Jacket pockets, couch cushions, trash bin, the trash bin. No key. No key anywhere. I left the drawer open. Not locked. Each morning, just a quiet, evil suggestion of darkness. By the 3rd night, I'd slept poorly. Every creak put me on edge. I turned on the TV for white noise, the whole night watching the speaker drift across crime shows until about 2 a.m. when I thought I heard knock, knock, knock. Was it the window? The pipes? Heartbeat? At 2:06, there was again. 3 slow, hollow knocks. From inside the drawer. No, underneath it, a dull contact tap from the end drawer below. Panic. Immobilizing vertigo. I waited, leaned forward. It came again. Tap, tap, tap. I bolted to lights, coffee, shaking fingers. I unplugged the desk lamp around midnight after that. Couldn't stand the cord's rhythm on the hardwood. 5th night, the key was back, lying on top of the desk, centered, standing upright like a sentinel in shadow. Clean, no dust, but it didn't feel right. Copper glinted in lamplight. I picked it up. Warm, not from human body, a live warmth, like fresh metal heated by flame. I put it in my pocket. Went to bed. Next morning, I found it dangling from the underside of the drawer, hanging by the chain of my keyring. The knob pointed downward. Inserted. Undone. Middle drawer was locked again. How it got there, no idea. No footprints. No scratches. I stopped using the desk. Started working from the living room table. Each night I'd sit with the key in my hand, weight in palm, finger in grooves. I slept with the desk door cracked. My study became quiet cage, the rest of the house oblivious. 6 nights in, my phone buzzed at 3:13 a.m. No calls. Just open IT, my threshold narrowed. I nearly dropped the phone. I dare not move. Numb chest. By morning, I couldn't remember what I dreamt, but I remembered dread. The 7th night, I decided to get answers. I sat upright in bed, waited. Stuck in my pocket, the key. At 3 a.m. I reached for my phone. I opened Notes app, started typing. This is for you. I'm not responsible. 3:06 a.m. Silence. 3:11, a hushed sigh. 3:13, click. The locked drawer was opening, slowly. I jumped. My heart dropped. The knob spun outward and the drawer pulled open about 3 inches. By itself, I flicked on a flashlight. The inside was empty, clean white, like a new drawer still smelled of wood polish. But there was a shadow, a black shape that stood at the back, perfect outline of a hand, palm flat against the wood. And on the bottom, carved, I'm watching at 3:14, it closed fast. No force, just snapped shut. The lock seemed to engage again. In the silence, the faint thud of it locking itself. My flashlight died. I collapsed, slept off at the couch, too exhausted. I didn't tell anyone. Morning light brought rational thoughts. Maybe a warped mind, a vibration, a faulty floorboard. I wrote it off, left the drawer locked, the key in my pocket. But the note was pressed freshly into the dust under the drawer. I saw it when I opened it to put a file in the other day. I'll be back underneath. Fresh scratches. Map-like patterns. For small holes drilled in bottom of drawer. Now I was terrified. I haven't slept there since. I sleep downstairs. The desk sits under the open door of my study, its drawer locked from the outside, the key dangling from my coat hook. I hear it almost every night. A click, thud, silence. Sometimes in the morning, the key's gone. I don't know if I'll open it again. But I know one thing, it's waiting. And it's patient. I haven't slept in my bedroom in 2 weeks. Instead, I've taken to sleeping on a futon in the living room, a reserved distance from the ominous desk that now dominates my subconscious. It's not out of fear of intruders. I haven't heard any footsteps in months. It's the desk itself that terrifies me. By day, it sits innocuously in the corner of my study, pristine and beautiful, as though nothing horrific has ever happened. By night, it becomes an object of dread. The key dangles from my coat hook like a morbid ornament. I check it obsessively, turn the key in my palm, feel the cool metal pulse like a heartbeat. And every night, somewhere between 3 o'clock and 3:30 a.m., I hear it again. Click, thud, silence, and I can't sleep until dawn, waiting in semi-darkness for the sound to come again. I decided to research the desk's origin. I scoured the invoice the clerk gave me. Harvest Oak Executive Desk, made in Ireland. I tracked down the manufacturer's number online, eventually getting in touch with a polite man in Dublin named Sean O'Mara, who confirmed they'd built it in 1982. He asked for no details, but said, "If you bought it secondhand, I hope it finds a good home." I searched for my desk serial number online. Nothing came up, not a single record of a prior owner or recall. The seller at the store claimed they'd purchased it in a warehouse liquidation lot of a defunct law firm. None of the name cards attached compellingly to anything unusual, just decade-old supply receipts. But a user on an antiques forum named Harper Hayes posted something in passing. That model, lot number 17328, is known in the trade as the solicitor's desk. A former Orange Order lawyer used them in his office. Strange disappearances happened. No specifics, just ominous caveats. I set up a small camera across from the desk to capture any movement. I placed sand under each leg as a makeshift movement detector. Heavy-duty night vision cam. No lights, no reflection, just the desk in darkness. I left it running for 5 straight nights and captured nothing. Then, on the 6th night, at exactly 3:13 a.m., the camera clicked on. In the silent, green-tinted frame, I saw it unfold. First, the key fell from the coat hook, sliding silently across the wooden arm of a wingback chair near the desk. It landed softly on the carpet. Then, out of nowhere, the middle drawer unlocked itself, as though inhaling air. The handle creaked, and the drawer began to extend itself, slowly, deliberately, about 4 inches. And then a hand appeared. Not a full hand. A silhouette. A dark palm pressed against the inside back wall of the drawer, unaware of illumination. Then the camera speaker crackled with static, and I heard it here again. The image sharpened just long enough for me to see long, too thin fingers, as though pressed from the outside. Then the camera cut. The drawer slammed shut. The key slid off screen as though pulled backward by invisible force. The DVR logged timestamp, 3:13 exactly. I watched that clip so many times I memorized the static crackle pattern. The voice, not entirely a voice, more like reluctant emergence of several voices layered, sent me into a panic. I stopped working. I didn't leave the apartment. I began making audio recordings of myself. Yes, I'm still here. I still exist. I recorded new files in my study. I played them back at 3 a.m., but the recordings broke into static and cut to silence just before 3:13 a.m. I heard the voice whisper, "Don't forget," in a low, grudging tone. And there were scratches until I played back the recording. In the raw files, I heard nothing. But in the ghost audio files, I heard scrape. Scrape. Scrape coming from the drawer's back interior. I refused to stay silent. That 3:13 a.m., I stood in front of the desk. I held the key in one hand, camera in the other. I spoke. "I will open this drawer." "You want me to?" "I will." I turned the key. It twisted without stopping. The drawer unlocked before the key could complete a turn. The lock mechanism clicked beneath my fingers like a delayed mechanical note in a horror soundtrack. I opened the drawer fully. It was empty, but the back panel had begun to cry. Thin rivulets of sticky black ochre leaked through, like sap from a tree. They pooled in the bottom of the drawer and dripped onto my wrist. I pulled my hand away, but the back inside corner was still wet. That voice surfaced again, clearer, deeper, angry. "You let it out. You know now. It remembers." The drawer slammed shut hard. The key slipped from my limp fingers and clattered across the hardwood. I researched the solicitor's desk and found copy of an obituary for a Dublin attorney named Connor Byrne, died in 1987. The obituary was brief. He removed himself from his London chambers and returned home, following sudden mental illness. No cause of death listed. Then I rummaged local digital newspapers. I found a manslaughter case tied to Byrne's London office. A paralegal named Emily Quinton died in a filing aisle accident, but oddly, the investigation was closed due to irregularities. Witnesses spoke of a noise like fingernails tapping before her death. The office was reorganized afterward, items shipped to Belfast, and Byrne returned to Ireland. He invited no press. Over the next years, he disappeared from society. Upon his death, aged 60, he requested his law office be dismantled and parts sold, never mentioning the desk. I slept that night in the bathtub, pillow by the drain, clothes wrapped tight. I couldn't breathe. I didn't trust it. I didn't trust me. At 3:13 a.m., I heard a lock turning, the drawer opening. I crawled to the bathroom door, heard "I'm here" in my ear, soft as a sigh. Then the smashed wood of the doorway. My door barely held. I never slept again. 2 days later, I found a knife under the bed. Small, silver, the blade smeared, not with rust, but an even black that glistened. It didn't smell like iron. It smelled like grease and age. Attached was a handwritten tag. Take it or I will. No signature. This drew me completely in. I picked it up. I haven't used a knife. I don't know why it's there, or who put it there. Maybe me, maybe something else. What's worse, I realized the desk wasn't haunted. I am. Wherever I've gone since I brought it home, the key tries to turn itself in my pocket. The drawer opens itself before I can walk away. I hear the desk weeping if I stay more than a few days, until I sleep at the futon again. I can't sell it. I can't destroy it. Every time I consider disposal, I find the desk and drawer waiting, locked but waiting. On my living room table is the knife and the key, and I have the choice. I either take it, use it, or it will. Since discovering the knife and the key on my table, I've lived like a person haunted, not just by something in the desk, but by the shadow of myself it seems to cast. I barely leave the study anymore. Food comes from delivery. I sleep in the dark corner of the living room, under a wool blanket that smells of old pine. But I couldn't stop. The knife calls to me with a low hum. And the key. The key rattles in my coat pocket, turning ever so slightly, like a soft breath against metal. On the third night, I awoke to a flicker in the floor-length mirror across from the desk. My reflection stayed still, except for the fingernails. They had grown, elongated into pale spikes. I sat up. My hands were clean. I touched the mirror frame, cold, static. Then the reflection smiled. Not me. It wasn't my expression. The eyes had gone black. I staggered away. The mirror cracked vertically on its own, echoing like a gunshot. I burned incense the next evening, juniper, rosemary, sage. I sprinkled salt in front of the study threshold. Stood at the door, key clenched in my fist, resolved not to cross the line again. But at 2:57 a.m., the incense went out. The salt shifted. I heard something inside the drawer. On instinct, I pressed my ear to it. I heard drip. 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 Blood. Liquid. Alive. I swore it was gurgling too. The drawer opened a crack. A faint red glow spilled out. I held the key at the lock. Mustered every ounce of rational will. But I couldn't move. At 3:13, the drawer swung open fully, revealing nothing but polished wood grain. Except it wept. Tiny rivulets of vermilion trickled down its face, saturating the grain until the desk looked like it wore a wound. The liquid pooled on the floor in a growing tear-shaped stain. I tried to wrench the drawer closed, but someone or something from inside thrust the knife forward, blade first, as if the drawer had grown arms. I recoiled, stumbling back into the salt. Salt burned my skin as I fell. When I finally regained my breath, the drawer was locked. The salt line unmoved. The knife gone again. The desk sat innocent. But the floorboards still echoed with the soft hum of missing steel. I began digging deeper. I took old maps of Belfast, Dublin, and searched court records under Conaburn's name. Found reports of missing people, employees from his firm, disappeared in late 80s. One was a paralegal, another an intern. All vanished without trace. No bodies. No mention of a desk. All references vanished after Byrne requested records sealed by court order. I found a whisper of his journal, handed to his senior partner before his death. Excerpt: the desk knows. The desk demands. I cannot leave it unfinished. I have given blood, but it needs more. It remembers the bodies. It tastes them when I sleep. It ended with a smear of ink, like a spill or seizure. Then came the dents on the floorboards, small silhouettes of faces screaming. Not etched, but sunken into varnish, nearly invisible unless you press palm to wood. One night, working in the study by lamplight, I caught one, half visible, faded, mouth open in silent terror. My hand trembled. I felt sick. I turned and heard breathing behind me, panicked but approaching. I spun, empty room. But when I looked back, the floor face was clearer. 2 wide eyes, a gaping mouth. Childlike. Then another face under the drawer, and another frozen around its knob. I realized it's not my reflection that grows teeth. It's the desk remembering them. That night, I slept on the study floor, remaining closer to the source of horror than anywhere else. I woke at 3:12 to a metallic clicking. The knife had appeared on the desk, blade flipped forward to a sharp edge. Not resting on the surface, it was levitating, hovering a few inches above the wood, tipped toward me. Slowly, in the gloaming, the knife drifted to the edge and fell, point first through the wood, stabbing deep. The handle thumped on the floor. I screamed so loud my lungs burned. Blood began to pool at the base of the drawer, the one above the blade, like the drawer wept tears of its own wound. The key spun on the cloth beneath, browning like copper soap. Then everything went silent. I waited until dawn, then fled again. I contacted Lorna, the woman who lived in the last house in Belfast. I found her number buried in Burns' passport. She answered this time, weary but alert. I sent photos. The wood faces, the levitating knife, the locked drawer with fresh tracks of blood. She agreed to meet and bring a priest who dealt with object hauntings. She offered a ritual. Consecrate the knife with water from consecrated ground. Place the corpse-stained grain face up under salt. Recite a binding against unfinished business. Burn Burns' journal over the desk. If that didn't work, I'd have to destroy the desk. The plan took weeks of coordination. Last night, we confronted it. At 10 p.m., the study was all flame and salt. Lorna's priest, Father Morris, began chanting prayers in Latin and Gaelic. We sprinkled bone dust salt over the serrated faces, placed Burns' journal open on the desk. I held the knife, heart racing. The desk groaned. Wood wrinkles shifted under candlelight. The drawer rattled itself open. From within, voices hissed. The handle groaned like a hinge strained by years. I plunged the consecrated blade through the drawer front. That's when erupted a geyser of blackened blood, stained pages, rotted petals. Lorna cried out. Father fell back, shouting prayers louder. Smoke and blood mist filled the air. The desk screamed. I thought it would shatter. Then silence. A single page fluttered out of the book, landing blade pointing into me. Words burned onto my chest. It remembers you. The morning after, the desk was empty of blood. No knife, no book, no salt, heavy silence, except the faces. They remained pressed in the wood, clear, screaming, awaiting finish. I can't destroy it. Not yet, because I think I'm part of it now. I'm connected to its grain, its memory of violence. The desk knows me, and I don't think destroying it will free me. It'll just make it angry. So I wait. I watch. The key is back on the hook. The knife lies wrapped in cloth beneath my bed. Lorna and the priest have promised to return tonight. And I know, if I touch that drawer again, it will come. After the ritual, air in the apartment felt thinner, like I'd unplugged the oxygen. Days passed without the late-night click, without the drawer unlocking itself. For a moment, I dared hope it had ended. Then I walked past my study and heard it, faint, a tiny squid squish, fluid pressing slowly through wood. I stayed silent, standing outside the half-open door, shivering at the sound of grain crying. Inside, beneath flickering candlelight still unburned, I saw a new face appear on the darkest plank, the screaming visage of a man, mouth agape, eyes silent fire. It hadn't been there during the ritual. The wood remembered anew. I found an old journal, Burns' Ledger of Disappearances. On the last page, written in trembling script, it feeds. I cannot take it away. And that was when I realized the desk wasn't done. It needed more. Sleep no longer came. I lived in 15-minute bursts, eyelids flicking open at the darkest hour. Each time I dozed, I entered the same dream, a dark corridor lined with desk drawers, all locked, all humming with life. When I reached the center, one drawer slid open. I saw the faces of those who vanished. They screamed silently, mouths moving, but no sound came. Then the sleeper's drawer slammed shut, and I woke choking. Morning brought splinters in my palms. One afternoon, I was boiling water in the kitchen and heard with scraping, not in the study, but the wall between the living room and bedroom. I followed the noise, hollow grara, as if something inside the plaster was clawing its way out. I drilled a test hole, barely an inch, and pressed my ear. Whispered voices, layered, crying free. Let us out. The wood within the wall pulses when I touch it. I can feel heartbeat beneath plaster. I am surrounded. Lorna and Father Morris came again at dusk. He brought salt, holy water, and an old iron ritual hammer. Lorna carried a box filled with the lead coffin fragments Byrne had refused to bury. We planned a final exorcism, but as we worked, the floorboards creaked a rhythm. The drawer laughed in deep glugs of wood juice. The hammer vibrated in Father's hand as he read scripture. Then the desk slammed shut so hard the bookshelf toppled. The candles extinguished. Our phones died. Only desk lamp remained, flickering. I saw the faces move, trapped behind wood, flapping, screaming. Then the drawer slid open by itself, spitting out mud, ash, bone dust. Father grabbed the hammer. He struck the desk side. A high-pitched shriek tore through the room. His arm jerked backward violently. The hammer snapped in two. He collapsed. Lorna reached for him. He shook in agony. Blood dripped behind his eyes, nose, ears, tears. He looked at me with dead clarity. You let it in. Then he died. Alone with the desk, I realized the ritual had failed. The desk did not leave. Instead, it claimed space and now demanded blood. The drawer opened again. A voice feed. I saw a small wooden tray inside, pulsing, expanding like a wound. I tried to turn away, but my legs moved forward. I reached out. The wood felt alive, warm, well, like blood. Hands trembling, I pressed my palm to the drawer tray. I could feel drops forming, new rivulets of blood. My fingerprints imprinted in the wood. As I drew away, the drawer slammed shut. I backed away in horror, wiping blood on the carpet. My hands wouldn't stop trembling. I fled outside. It was raining. The desk's laughter hummed behind me. I scanned the street, but there was nowhere safe. When I returned, my apartment was exactly as I left it, except all the mirrors were smashed. Cracks spiderwebbing outward, each sheet fractured like a broken scream. Blood trickled from the broken glass shards. I didn't touch it. That night, I sat amidst destruction with a knife in my lap, exhausted, numb. I realized I could destroy the desk. Or maybe I must, because it would never stop feeding, and I could never be free as long as I was so entangled. At sunrise, I stood before the desk with the ritual hammer, knife, and salt. I backed up, cold breaths misting in the chill, and I lifted, the knife consecrated but stained, the ritual hammer broken and powerless. A bag of salt to try sealing it one final time. I stared at the drawer, locked, empty, but vibrating with power. I made a choice, end it here or be consumed. I can't tell you what happened next, partially because I've been screaming for hours, and partially because I don't remember decisively lifting the hammer or plunging the blade. What I know is this. At 3:13 p.m., I woke strapped to the study chair. The drawer locked in place, but behind me. Footsteps, the breathing, a presence. The hammer and knife were gone. Salt scattered everywhere. Blood dripped from ceiling beam to desk surface like stigmata. And on the front of the drawer, carved fresh, I live in you. I wake, shackled to the chair. Afternoon sun streaming through blinds, not morning. My pulse races even though my wrists feel numb. I've no idea how I wound up here. My stomach churns as I realize all exits in the study are sealed with salt. Crystals line the thresholds like tiny tombstones. Everything, walls, floorboards, even the desk, is slick with dark, sticky fluid. It drips from the ceiling onto the desk like leaky blood rain. And through it all, heartbeat, a deep rhythmic tremor under the floorboards and behind the walls. It isn't mine. My pulse is racing. I can feel it thudding through my thighs. It's something else. The drawer stands locked, but the air around it trembles as though the wood is breathing. Shadows wobble at the edges of my vision, shifting, moving. My heart pounds in panic. I try to move again, but the bindings hold firm. Then it starts whispering, low and rhythmic. Evan, Evan, Evan. It grows louder, more insistent. Each iteration hammers against the wood behind me. I whimper, my voice catching in my throat. I don't know how long it speaks. Minutes? Hours? By the time it stops, the room is colder and the drip, slow, measured, has stopped. Silence. I force my head around, realized I'm not alone. At the far wall stands Lorna, silent and pale, eyes wide with fear. Behind her walks Father Morris, slow, shuffling, sorrowful. Both hold salt sachets and flashlights. Their light reveals a strange sight. My reflection in a tall mirror laid flat against the wall. Except I look hollow. My face is drawn, eyes too dark, and my expression is uncanny, an image of calm horror. They hold keys in trembling hands, keys to the shackles of my wrists. I look at the desk. They both stare at it as if seeing it for the first time in a lifetime. Father's voice is hollow. It knows your name, he says, knows your fear. They move with purpose. Lorna sprays consecrated water onto the salt, reinforcing the lines. Father begins chanting again, louder this time. Lorna presses the keys into my hands. I yank them free, blood staining the stone floor as I rub the bruises on my wrists. Together, we approach the desk. At first, nothing happens. The drawer is still. Then, with excruciating slowness, it unlocks itself. The handle spins. The drawer exhales itself open. No sound except the creak of movement. A black mist seeps out. It raises, pooling at our feet. Father raises his voice, panting. in gnome patries. He smears holy oil on the desk frame. The mist recoils. Lorna steps aside and, brave, plunges the consecrated knife from earlier into the wood. The blade sinks in. The mist shrieks like metal scraping glass. I step forward, desperate to join. I press my palm to the blade handle. It hums alive. The mist swirls violently, an orb of nodding darkness that pulses and convulses. The desk shudders. Blood drips in torrents. The mirror behind us cracks in horizontal lines. My face fractures and reforms. I recognize false calm, and it sends a wave of nausea through me. Father collapses, chanting faltering. Lorna shields him. I grip the knife tighter. My reflection in the splintering mirror closes in behind me, impersonating my movements. I close my eyes and scream words I never thought I'd utter. Stop living in me. The darkness writhes. The desk splinters. The blade bites deeper. I can feel warmth, or what might be fire, burning across my palm into my chest. Then a pop. The mist retracts. The drawer slams shut. The desk ceases trembling. I fall into the salt circle. They catch me as I collapse. Merciful sunlight floods the room. The drip stops. The wood stops weeping. Father slumps against the desk, exhausted. Lorna kneels, daubing at my face with holy water. I'm shaking, but I'm alive. Father's voice is quiet, gentle. It cannot stay, too strong. You hosted it. You expelled it, but it will return. He instructs me to lock the drawer permanently from the inside, then to carry the desk away, dump it in a stretch of road far from any home. He stays until the job is done, salt lined from floor to door, then leaves into the afternoon light, where dust motes dance sun-streaked. Lorna stays behind. She helps load the desk into a rented truck as I bleed from 100 tiny wounds along my palm. We haul the desk to a gravel pit 5 hours away. Lorna helps push it onto the edge of a creek. I stand on the bank. I watch the water curve beneath the desk's weight. In one moment I choose. I push. With splinters. Metal snaps. The desk yawns toward the current. It resists like it's alive, but finally, gravity wins. It falls. The creek swallows it. Lorna and I stand silent for a long time. She's trembling. I am too. I expect a scream. A cloud. Something to rise from those rippling waters. Nothing. Just creek gurgle. Wet stone. The uneasy peace of aftermath. It's been days since. I'm home, but every surface feels foreign. Light seems too bright. Silence too loud. I sleep again, yes, but it's still 15-minute cycles at first light. I wake at 3:13 a.m., gasping. There are no more knocks, no more laughs. But sometimes when I touch my hand, I still feel the grain of oak embedded in my skin. I hum my bones. The shape of a drawer behind my eyelids. And once, just once, I swear I heard a soft click from inside my closet. It was 3 nights ago at 3:13 a.m. when the silence ended. I slept more soundly than I had in weeks. The old futon in the corner of my bedroom felt foreign yet comforting. The nightmares had faded. I hadn't heard a single click or whisper. The apartment, my sanctuary, finally felt like home. But at 3:13, the world shifted. I awoke gasping. A soft tapping echoed somewhere down the hall, just 2 taps. Then a pause. Then 2 more. And then, click thud, the drawer slammed open. I bolted awake, heart pounding. But time had moved. The drawer was a crack ajar. paint fresh grooves across its oak face. I hadn't crossed my sleep threshold yet, but I knew it's back. I stumbled to the study, half-dressed, flashlight in one hand, salt sachet in the other. The dais of cloth-candled salt still framed the desk. Everything lay as Lorna, and I left it except the drawer. It looked new, fresh polish in its cracks. No dust, no stains, no memory of blood. I hesitated, felt that pull like wind toward a cliff. I stepped closer. The drawer swung out. Inside, a slip of paper folded. I stared at it, heart ready to burst. The paper read, "You cannot destroy me. I dwell in the grain. I sleep in your bones. We're the same. Remember." My flashlight flickered. The room felt hotter. The wood pulsed beneath my feet. I heard it whisper, "Open it." I backed away. The drawer closed and locked itself. But the message lingered. I could taste it. The room felt alive. Eyes of wood burned behind my eyes. The scalp prickled. I sat on the couch, hands trembling. Part of me wanted to burn the entire building down. Another part whispered, "You owe it. You opened it." I fell back asleep, agonizing wide-eyed, between consciousness and dream. When I woke at dawn, the city was gray and silent. I called Lorna. Her voice trembled, told me she was moving out of town, far away. She said Father's death shook her to her core. "We ended it, Evan," she said. "There's nothing more you can do." I begged her to stay. She refused. By afternoon, movers pulled the desk from my study with gloves and quiet ceremony. They wrapped it, loaded it onto a van bound for a charity drop-off. I paid in cash. I thought that was it. But each time a door closed, each time night deepened, I felt the absence, as if the grain had been sliced out of the room, leaving a wound. And I dreamed of wood. In these dreams, the desk stood center stage. The drawer open. Faces in the grain tormented. The whisper was soft. "It's never over." A week later, at 2 a.m., I received a text. No caller ID. Just a location, my building courtyard. When I stepped out, I found the mover's van parked there. One crew member slept beside it. The desk was gone, but inside the van, on the floor, lay the knife, clean, polished blade pointing at the entrance. I picked it up and nearly dropped it. In the metal, I saw the reflection of the drawer's ghost, gaping and hungry. I brought it inside and locked it in a drawer of my new kitchen table. That first night without the desk in sight, I slept in my living room again. I thought I was safe. At 3:13, I woke to a thud in the kitchen, not footsteps, but the soft impact of a blade falling against tile. I grabbed the knife case drawer. The knife was gone. In its place lay the key, the same key that turned the drawer lock. I ran outside onto the balcony, dawn swoon in my chest. Below in the street, I saw the desk, standing upright, middle drawer open, no one around. Its grain gleamed, the faces painted in shadow. The air around it pulsated like a heart. I watched, rooted. From deep within me came the whisper, "I'm here." I went down. Each step echoed. The pavement cracked under my feet. I felt the grain in my bones. I approached, touched the drawer. Warm. I slid the key in and opened it. Nothing inside, just polished wood. And then behind me, an echo. I turned to see the knife in my hand, dripping red. The blade had been sharpened. It glinted like a tongue. The desk whispered again, "Take it." In that moment, I realized the truth. It wasn't inside the desk anymore. It was inside me. I dropped the knife. The desk closed its drawer. The wind picked up. No scream. No laughter. No click, just the empty street. I'm back in my apartment. The knife lies under my bed. The key is pinned above the door. I don't sleep well. At night, when I close my eyes, I see oak grain beneath my skin, crawling under fingernails. I taste with sap when I breathe. And at 3:13 a.m., though, I try to ignore it. I feel faint pressure on my chest. I don't know if I'm free, but I know this. No drawer is ever empty. They wait, in the grain, in the bone, in the silence.